So I was originally sent this post on Instagram. It was titled, "Am I wrong for not wanting to be involved in my child's life?" So here's the post. It says, he's 22, she's 21. He says, throwaway account. I got my girlfriend pregnant. It wasn't planned, but I was really happy to start a family with her. A few weeks later, she expressed some concerns about my cleanliness habits, hygiene, and lack of motivation. But she agreed to give me a chance to grow. Felt like a nice way of saying she wanted me to change myself. It was extremely difficult for me to work on these things because I'm honestly super comfortable with my life. I don't see anything wrong with how I live, but I tried my best because I loved her. She ended up losing attraction for me and eventually broke up with me because she realized she was only trying so hard to make things work for the baby. We agreed to terminate, but she changed her mind and decided to keep it. So her concerns were about cleanliness, hygiene, and lack of motivation. And he tried to fix that. And then he's talking about she just wanted to change him. Can y'all imagine what this man was super comfortable with? I'm glad people captured this and put it on Instagram. He continues with, she asked how much I wanted to be involved. I told her, honestly, I don't want to be involved at all. She seemed surprised and asked why. I told her because I don't want a family with someone who doesn't love me. She said that's fine and she's okay with raising the child alone, that I'm always welcome to change my mind, but asked me to be consistent and don't be an in and out parent. She gives birth really soon and I've been feeling guilty. I really don't want a family with someone who doesn't love me, but I do feel bad for the kid. Am I wrong for not wanting to be involved? If I were to change my mind, should I do it sooner rather than later? Edit to answer some questions. Were we using birth control? Yes, she was on the pill. What are the poor hygiene cleanliness habits? Only doing laundry every 6 weeks or so. Bad breath. Didn't keep up with my hair or facial hair. I don't clean my room, kitchen, or bathroom enough. Actually, I never clean my bathroom. Now that I think about it, gross. I know. What was she asking of you? She wanted me to start with doing laundry weekly and apply for Medicaid. Will you be paying child support? I don't think so since I won't be involved at all and she hasn't asked me about it. How hard were you trying? What did you do to improve? I didn't do what we agreed on, but I stopped letting dishes and trash pile up in my room and I started brushing my teeth 3 times a day. Do you have a job? Listen to this, y'all. Yes, I work full time at a bakery. This man who is a slob that doesn't brush his teeth or wash his hair or keep up with his facial hair works at a bakery. He continues with, has she addressed these issues before? She did. I'll admit, I used to deep clean and make sure me and my apartment were squeaky clean before she came for the first year. Then I think I got too comfortable and she immediately addressed the bad habits. She was not as gentle about it after she fell pregnant, rightfully so. Last edit. Message received, guys. I know how gross I am and how gross it is to be okay with that, but that's sadly where I am at right now. I know I need therapy for my depression and trauma, but right now I'm overwhelmed and don't have the capacity for it. The reason I'm here asking if I'm wrong to not want to be involved in my child's life is because I'm struggling to pick between showing up and being a half ass in and out poor example of a dad or just be completely absent. Neither are ideal, but like I've stated, I'm comfortable where I'm at and I don't think I can grow up or step up in the way this child deserves. I realize I don't truly have the desire to be a dad right now. I think in the beginning I was just excited at the idea of having the family I wish I had growing up. I agree with the people saying my ex and child are better off without me. She even said herself that unless she sees significant growth, she can't trust me around the baby. After lots of reflection, I don't blame her one bit. I think I'm going to stick with my decision and stay away. I'm willing to deal with the consequences down the line if or when the child reaches out. I'd regret missing out. I rather regret missing out than regret disappointing and hurting them. He was active in the comment section before he deleted his account. Mama Mush says, honestly, if you have bad hygiene habits and aren't interested in improving your life, you aren't likely to start a family or be able to maintain one. And then the OP said, fair enough. I just think she expected too much of me too quick. People can't change overnight. Um, Nate says, She never asked you to change overnight. A simple, you are right, I need to do better, I will start seeing how I can be a better version of myself is all she wanted at that moment. Then start slowly making those changes to do and be better. She wanted this man to have better hygiene and clean up his apartment. And I know I struggle with the compassion piece of how do people let stuff build up like that. But yeah, this isn't like, as a person that tries to put trash out on a, every other day type of basis, this doesn't make sense to me. It's hard for me to comprehend living in filth. The OP said, that's pretty much what I tried to do. I can definitely see where she was coming from with her concerns, and I really did try my best. But she only gave me a few weeks at most, and it takes time to make make new habits stick. The thing is, like he said, he started out being a clean person, and so then he's the one that changed. So why can't he just change back to being that clean person that she knew? This is the last comment from the OP saying, she wanted me to start out doing my laundry once a week or at least every other week and look into Medicaid so I could see a dentist and start therapy. That was another concern of hers, that I wasn't good enough at adulting. She really wanted me to take initiative more. Part of me understands where she was coming from, but I also feel like she didn't give me enough time and she didn't acknowledge how hard I was trying. She also got really distant, like didn't want to talk as much, was always 10 feet away when we hung out, didn't want to kiss or be hugged or be intimate. I don't think she understood that I needed things to be happy in the relationship too. It's hard forming new habits, especially when you're doing it for someone who has stopped showing you any kind of love or affection. Dude, you didn't brush your teeth. You didn't wash your armpits. I'm sure your balls were musty. Stop it. Stop trying to put any of this on her when you are repelling her with your body odor and hygiene. You just need to stop it. Some of the comments on the post were, you're seriously going to use that excuse? What are you going to tell the kid when they ask one day? Sorry, I wasn't around. I really wanted a family, but I couldn't see myself being involved with you unless your mother was in a relationship with me and my poor hygiene drove her away, but I was too apathetic about it to change anything. That's some loser ass talk right there. You feel guilty when in all this time since the breakup, you could have worked to turn yourself around and step up for this child you helped make. Joy Peel says, your selfish bee of a mother wanted me to brush my teeth and wash my butt. Since I wasn't ready to live my life as anything else but a sweaty swamp monster, that bee decided to dump me. I was completely blindsided. And then subject Hedgehog says, I'm only willing to be a human being if she's going to suck my disgusting peen. Um, Tall 10 Texas says, damn, kind of graphic, but point taken, LOL. I agree. I'm stunned she was attracted to him to begin with. Looks like she's learning her lesson. The OP should have kept this to himself, or at least come here the moment he learned she's pregnant. Hard to not judge his parents since it looks like he doesn't have anywhere else to go for input. And with that, I'm going to end it. Like I said, he deleted the post and everything, but I'm glad that somebody else captured it. Anyways, let me know what you think about this. Jump in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. So I did a post a couple of days ago where it was titled, my husband said he effing hates our baby and wishes it was never here. She made an update yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. She says, I'm planning an exit strategy that my husband doesn't know about. Even though he apologized for saying he hated our baby and wished it wasn't here, I no longer trust him. Recently, he has been trying to make amends, but I'm still uncertain about my feelings towards him. This morning, I woke up later than usual and I found that both he and my son were gone. He had taken our son for a walk without informing me, which made me panic and almost call the police. They returned just before I did. I told him not to go anywhere with our son because I no longer trust him. He insisted that he would never harm his son and that his comment was made out of frustration. He felt I was overreacting and was hurt that I viewed him as a terrible person. I told him only a terrible person would say they hated their helpless baby and wish they weren't here. Despite his efforts to help more by changing diapers and feeding our son, I'm struggling to move past his hurtful comments. He has 4 adult children from a previous marriage and has a close relationship with them. From what I've seen, he seems to be a good father. Some people have suggested he might have postpartum depression, but when I brought it up, he dismissed it, saying he just gets irritated when our son cries for too long. He claims he's working on his patience, but I wonder if his age, 55, contributes to his lack of patience with our 4-month-old. I'm in my head a lot. Deep down, I think I know what I need to do to keep my child safe, but another part of me wants to give him another chance. Had to delete my account due to an overwhelming amount of emails, but here's the link to my first post. I'm glad this woman is making her exit strategy. I'm glad that women are not sitting around for years and years and years. I know some women still are, waiting for things to get better when the safety of their child or themselves is at stake. I know some people do stay, but the exit strategy and planning it in your mind that you need to leave is the most important part. Make sure your ducks are all in a row and leave. How many chances do you need to give a 55-year-old with your child? Your child deserves better than that. Let's look at some of these comments. Salmon Lover Sushi says, I assume you don't have any other children as you've not mentioned them. Some moms say that about their own baby. It sounds hard to believe, but postpartum depression isn't something to take lightly. Your husband doesn't sound like a terrible person to me. He sounds like he's struggling. The newborn stage is hard. Colic is hard. All these things are hard, and even more so the older you get, especially when you've already done it with 4 children. And I assume he didn't think he'd be having any more. If my husband had said this about our children, I would have been hurt and concerned, but mainly concerned for him. I'd want I'd want to get him the appropriate help and support too. I wouldn't leave the baby alone with him for a while, but I also wouldn't outright say, I don't trust you with our baby. Leaving him because of this sounds extremely harsh in my opinion. I wouldn't treat him like a villain. I'd open up a bit more. Y'all let me know what you think about that comment, because I see that this person wants to have compassion and all, but I just imagine you had a baby 4 months ago, and this is what your partner says to you. This is what your husband says to you about your child. Salmon Lover Sushi can have all the compassion she wants in her seat from directly away from safety. I'm sorry, directly in safety. But I don't think that I could feel like Salmon Sushi Lover in the moment, in the reality of it. Alice says, agree with all of this. I think he should get some counseling to work through all his feelings, because my guess is at 55 with grown children, he's having a bit of what the F have we done moment. I know after having raised 2 kiddos that even now, with my youngest being 5, the idea of starting that all over again feels intimidating. Think about it. He will be 70 when the child turns 15. My own father passed away when he was only 74. Combine that with the notion with spending your retirement and taking care of a child feels daunting. Maybe others would disagree with me, but it makes me anxious just thinking about it. I'm sure he loves your child, OP. He just doesn't love the situation. Compounded with the fact that your baby is still so young, I'm sure as they grow up and become more independent, his attitude will continue to shift. I get what he said. I get what he said was a terrible thing to say, but who hasn't said things they regret out of frustration? Tell him he needs therapy for you to even entertain being okay with the situation going forward. Throwaway account says, I read the other post said that they both have adult children from previous marriages. So on that post, they were very compassionate to the dad. This is my BurbNBougie subreddit where it was reposted. The comments are quite different over here. Acceptable Yak says he's going to shake that baby. Holy F, what a nightmare. And then the person that posted it on the BurbNBougie subreddit, Entertainment OK, says, update. The older dad's saying he hated his infant son. I think she will stay. The first red flag was the age gap, 43 and 55. She should not have had a baby with him to begin with. She said he was great to his other kids. Maybe she needs to speak to their mom to see what she says about them. 3 sides to a story. Suki D says, I don't think that's a concerning age gap when they're both middle aged. She says she's planning on leaving. I hope she follows through. The fact that he started helping out with the baby all of a sudden suggests love bombing, which is a manipulative tactic. the issue that I see with the age gap is that he's 55, and yeah, obviously he's not going to be around that long, and he shouldn't be because of how he's acting. But that's my take on it. Exotic Lava says, I did not see that coming. What did I do? Said the bewildered man when the divorce papers are delivered. Fit Particular says he wanted the younger woman ego boost, but gets annoyed when he has to be looked at like a younger man for energy to raise a child. Yes, that is what happens when an old man has a baby. They actually have to do things. So if you don't want to have a baby as an old man, get a vasectomy and take care of that. And with that, I'm going to leave it. I do want to know what you think. Do you lean more on the side of compassion, or do you lean more on the side of get the F out of there as quickly as you can? Let me know. Chime in. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Okay, so Exotic Lava posted this in the BurbNBougie subreddit saying, pranks and jokes, she left out the word jokes. Pranks and jokes are the mirrors of truth. She said, with pranks, you know exactly how a man or any person feels about you and how well they value your respect and acceptance of them. She says, when the pranks are to see your reaction, to test you out, to make the individual or the people around them laugh, then know for sure that he doesn't really like you or isn't sure if he likes you or not. Jokes and pranks should be made to make you laugh, not the party who pulled the prank. I've tolerated heaps of disrespect and was flexible with people because I wanted to be liked. Unfortunately, it led to nothing but regret. Regret of allowing it and not to snap ties sooner. You don't owe anyone to loosen up or tolerate it to avoid making the prankster feel bad. Behind a man's prank is a predatory motive. They either see how far they can go with you, or they want to express how much they dislike you without being called out for it. I wanted to do this because we talk about jokes and pranks all the time, but we really need to continue to hammer it. Do not allow a man to make you the butt of the joke, especially in public. I know we are conditioned to be the likable girl and to laugh it off and, just don't take yourself too seriously, but absolutely not. I like what she said here at the very bottom. Behind a man's prank is a predatory motive. They want to see how far they can go with you, or they want to express how much they dislike you without being called out for it. And this goes along with some of the things that we talked about yesterday with some of the motivations. Some of the benefits for being controlling or abusive. They get to pull your self-esteem down the hill, basically. And if they do that, they're able to control you. They want to see how far they can go with you. They want to continue to push boundaries, and don't allow them to do that. So we need to continue to highlight this because this is not a way to live that's sustainable going forward. Corumda Mania says it's also frustrating that when a woman does not laugh along, she's seen as difficult or lacking humor. This is where we got to get out of seeking validation for our feelings or how we present ourselves. Because if the prank was mean spirited, you shouldn't laugh to just look like you are, like you are the funny girl or you got some humor about you. Necromancer's Katie says, agreed, made me think of the grooms who smashed their brides' faces on the cake as a joke. To me, that is more like a warning. This is what our marriage would be like. Wild Eris says, I can't stand that. I hear claims that it's a tradition, but I've never seen it done one single time in any of the 3 countries I've been to for weddings, including the US. Whenever I see some loser do it on video, I know he won't wait a month before he becomes physically abusive, if he isn't already. This wasn't a very long post, but I think that it is important to talk about. So go ahead, jump in the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. How do you, I kind of already know what you think if you're in my network, but go ahead and let me know what you think about pranks and jokes and, laughing along just to get along and being seen as a woman with a sense of humor. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. All right, we got something else that was posted in the BurbNBougie subreddit. Trevor Teen Ghost says, I'm too jaded for rom-coms right now. She said, autocorrect wanted to change the title from rom-coms to ron-cons. How appropriate. Background. I came of age during the golden age of rom-coms. Love conquered all, and Meg Ryan reigned supreme in cinematic gems such as When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail. At the time, I didn't realize how much films like this were shaping my views of love, romance, and relationship. Me too, Trevor Teen Ghost. Fast forward to present day. I wanted to watch something light and pleasant on Netflix. I chose a Turkish rom com primarily because the setting was a pretty seaside town. The acting was just okay and the plot line was standard. But instead of finding the movie a nice distraction while I folded a basket of laundry, I found myself looking through new eyes and critiquing it. The male protagonist was a famous photographer, portrayed as a temperamental artist type. The female protagonist was an ambitious career woman on track for a senior editor position with a major magazine. Both characters are attractive, late 20s or early 30s. They had known each other in their youth when they spent summers with their grandmothers who were next door neighbors. Then life took them in different directions. The male character, Dennis, was a whole forest of red flags, weaponized moods, uncommunicative, nursing long held resentments from the past from a misunderstanding that happened more than a decade before, the summer they were 15, deliberately cruel on at least one occasion. The female character, Alin, was at first presented as a scheming, determined, spoiled princess type, but she quickly caught feelings again for her old flame and let her guard down to the point where she mentioned giving up her whole career for the man I love. Cue another major misunderstanding. He stomps off, refusing to talk about it. It's up to her to resolve the matter, basically by publishing what amounts to a love letter to him in a magazine. He relents. They're reuniting and riding off into the sunset together. I was left sitting there thinking, girl, this is just not going to work. This man showed you who he is. You're going to be walking on eggshells around that man baby's mood. He's going to expect you to prioritize his career over yours. Don't do it. The rom-coms haven't changed much, but I've come a long way. I can completely agree with this. I know that it has to be challenging for some of us who have grown into our feminist age to watch some of these movies. I thought that this was funny, especially since I know the age demographic of where I am and what some of you ladies feel about some of these things. So I figured this would be a good discussion question. Okay, so 4B Forever says, I started watching them again specifically to critique them. I was listening to a podcast that was critiquing Pretty Woman, and I bring this up a lot because I was shocked to realize that the Richard Gere character had a girlfriend in the beginning of the movie. And I remembered it once they brought it up, but in the 30 years since it's come out, I didn't. So basically, he has this event and he wants his girlfriend to come. And she says, listen, I'm really tired of dropping everything just to stand by your side. I realize this is important too, so I can't. So instead, he rents a lady of the night and falls in love with her and I guess forgets all about his girlfriend. What a message for a 17-year-old needs to see. Drop everything and stand by your man, or he'll replace you with a random woman and shower her in money and gifts. Ew. And Pretty Woman was the thing to watch back then. I know I watched it. Why was I watching this movie? Totally inappropriate. Septic of Everything says, also in the original ending, Richard Gere dumped Julia Roberts back in the streets and went on with his life like nothing happened. Test audiences hated it so much that they changed it to the fairy tale ending it was released with. The whole movie was disgusting. And then Trevor Teen Ghost says, I did not know the Richard Gere character had a girlfriend in Pretty Woman. Thank you for pointing that out. It really does bring a whole new level of ick to that film. I've only seen Pretty Woman once, a long time ago, shortly after it was originally released. Even back then, before I had the words to articulate it, the power dynamic in that relationship felt very off to me, and I totally didn't buy into the ending either. I had no idea, y'all, and I have never watched it as an adult. So, I still have fond feelings for this because, you still see her getting dressed up and putting on the necklace or having him try to clamp her hands down. So, yeah, the messages that they were sending were so off. Like you can just be doing any kind of work and some man is going to pluck you up. It is definitely a fairy tale. Ganny Mead says, I don't even remember that crucial fact about that movie. Glad we have more representation now, and more representation in who creates the movies and who brings them to life. Because having more women create movies and TV shows and all of this actually helps to make things a little bit more realistic. Um, XI545 says, I felt uncomfy watching the first Deadpool movie. Something about that relationship felt off, but I couldn't articulate why. Now I probably could if I were to rewatch. Jasmine Blossom says, I was never into rom-coms, and I also, literally from the time I was a young child, am uninterested in marriage. I am romantic, but not marriage-minded, so I have had this critical eye for rom-coms my whole life. It's amazing how so many people can watch the same movie I watch and not see the red flags I see. I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful I am who I am because women I know who were raised on the rom-coms or Prince Charming lies have all been massively disappointed by reality. These stories of romance are just propaganda for women to force us to conform. Wow. These stories of romance are just propaganda for women to force us to conform. That right there, that's hot right there. Necromancers, Katie says, I don't know that too jaded is the right word, maybe more perceptive. Is it better to be able to spot the BS? I watched Bridgerton and I was like, what in the toxic soup being passed off as romance is this? Every effing season, the dudes are hot garbage. All right. Gammy Mead says, I love how we can naturally analyze, identify, categorize all the red flags and find multiple solutions to each. I'm glad we are all talking about this. Now, when Necromancers Katie came in with the Bridgerton, I was like, oh, but I think that everything should be analyzed. Everything can be critiqued. And we should have spaces that feel comfortable enough to do this, to highlight things, even the things that we like. So join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this post. I thought that this was a good post to pull out for discussion. These stories of romance are just propaganda for women to force us to conform. That right there. We need to say that enough so that we can see these messages and be like, haha, they're trying to massage our brains or something right there. We need to be able to do that. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.